Welcome. In these lectures, we will talk about scientific notation. Numbers in science are often very large or very small. So to avoid confusion, or I see it, to avoid writing a bunch of zeros, we will use scientific notation. Scientific notation is use significant digit in a measurement followed by a powers of 10. So scientific notation will have two parts. The first part is the significant digit. The second part is the powers of 10. Okay, so to write scientific notation, you will first place a decimal after the first non-zero digit in the numbers followed by the remaining significant digit. Now, for the power of 10, the n here, if your numbers is larger than 1, then n will be positive, or that numbers will have a positive exponent. If your numbers is less than 1, then n will be negative, or that numbers will have a negative exponent. Okay. Now, writing 2500 and 0.036 in scientific notation. So for 2500, first put the decimal point to the first non-zero digit. 2 is your first non-zero digit. Okay, I will put the decimal place after 2. Now, then you count. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, because you put the decimal place after number 2. So write 2.5 times 10. Now we will determine the numbers n. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 2500 is larger than 1, so n will be positive. N equal 3. Okay. Next numbers 0.036. Again, we put the decimal point right after the first non-zero digit. The first non-zero digit is 3. Put it down, right? So we have 3.6 times 10. Okay, now we will move. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, we have moved the decimal place from here to here. Okay, so now we have to count backwards. So it's 1, 2. 0.036 is less than 1, so n will be negative. N equals negative 2. 3.6 times 10 raised to the powers of negative 2. If you want to check your scientific notation is correct, after you come up with your scientific notation, put the value back in your calculator to see if it gave you the same numbers as this. Okay, let's see. So I had 2.5. Okay, I have 2500. Okay, my scientific notation is 2.5 times 10 raised to the powers of 3, 2500. Okay, 0.036. Okay. I come up with 3.6 times 10 raised to the powers of negative 2. 3.6 times 10 raised to the powers of negative 2. 0.036. Okay, so if you want to make sure, put your scientific notation back in your calculator. Okay, now continue. Okay, express the following numbers in scientific notation. Okay, 3820. Okay, put the decimal right after the first non-zero. Okay, here after 3, we have 3.820 times 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So the 820s is larger than 1. Okay, so exponent will be positive, and we have moved 3 place, so 10 raised to the powers of 3. 0.0478. Put right the decimal place right after 4. 4.78. Okay, now we will determine the exponential. 0.0478, the numbers is less than 1. So exponent had to be negative 1, 2. 10 raised to the powers of negative 2. 300 million. Okay. Put the decimal place right after 3. Okay. 3 times 10. 300 million is larger than 1. Now we will count how many places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Times 10, 3 times 10 raised to the powers of 8. 0.000859. Put the decimal right after 8. You have 8.59 times 10. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0.000859 is smaller than 1. So the exponent had to be negative. 10 raised to the power of negative 5. 8,000. Put the decimal right after 8. 8 times 10. Right. 1, 2, 3. 10 raised to the power of 3. Okay. Now 9,000, but because we have a decimal place here, okay, still put the decimal place right after 9. But now because we have a decimal here, so these numbers will have 4 significant figures. We had to include all the zero. Right. Times 10. 1, 2, 3. 10 raised to the powers of 3. Right. The next page is your practice problems. Okay. Now let's talk about how you put your scientific notation in the calculator. Okay. So some calculators will have something called EXP or EE. That is for express the powers of 10. Okay. E mean times 10 raised to the powers of whatever. You're gonna see this if you use Excel a lot to calculate. Okay, so Excel. So if you put calculation in Excel in very large numbers, Excel will say something like 1.7. E23. This means 1.27 times 10 raised to the powers of 23. Now, for this class, you use scientific calculator. Okay, the most common ones is TI-30X2S or TI-30XS here. Now, in my honest opinion, I do not recommend you use that button E to type in scientific notation because if you are not careful, you will make mistake and your calculations will be wrong. I always recommend my student what you see on the papers, put it in the calculators as right? What do I mean by that? If you had to type in, let's say 3 times 10 raised to the powers of 9, for example, then I will suggest in the calculation you you put in 3 times 10. This numbers right here is the power, okay? Raised to the powers of 9, okay? The same goes for the TI-30XS here, okay? Put in 3 times 10 raised to the powers of 9, okay? And this might be useful when we talk about dimensional analysis. If you want your calculators to avoid confusion, you will always put the important numbers in parentheses. Why? Because when you put a important equation or numbers in parentheses, that means the calculators will perform that function, that equation, that expression first, right? So if you want to make sure that to avoid errors or to avoid confusion, important numbers, important expression, put it in parentheses, right? That is for scientific notation, and I will see you in the next lecture.